Hi, I'm the business guy with Asset Protection Planners, and as the CEO of Asset Protection Planners, the largest asset protection firm in the country, I personally sat down with multiple billionaires discussing their asset protection needs. Because we protect the identities of our clients, I can't name names, but I can tell you some stories about 5 of them who I sat down with one-on-one. I've gathered ideas about how they think, what they do, and today I'm going to share that information with you. And hey, there's not very many of them. Worldwide, Wikipedia says there are only 2,755 billionaires, 724 of them in the US, 177 in India, 64 in Canada, 56 in the UK, and 44 in Australia. So they're a pretty rare breed, and the chance of any one of us having a detailed conversation with them is pretty slim. One of them manufactures gaming equipment, one was in the oil and gas business, one was in the billboard business, another in the meat packing business, and another in the natural gas business in Kansas City. And after talking with them extensively in detail about their histories, their financial conditions, I noticed 5 important traits that they had in common. And that's what we're going to talk about today, the 5 common traits of billionaires from my personal conversations. And when you watch this short video to the end, I'm going to talk to you about an experience my wife and I had when we stayed a few nights with a billionaire friend and his wife in their 17,000 square foot mansion. You'll love the story, so stick around. Billionaire trait number 1, no excuses. They succeed no matter what the weather is. I sat there in amazement at the story of one of the billionaires who came to my office and hired us to give him a consultation on asset protection from lawsuits. He wanted us to set up some offshore asset protection trusts, and we're the largest company in the world that does this. And he told the story about starting his business, living alone in a shipping container for over a year while he was getting his billboard business off the ground. Though his living conditions were harsh and he had no family money to help him get started, he did what it took to get his business going until he could support himself and move to more traditional housing. He just buckled down, ignored his discomfort, and focused on his dream. And I need your help. If you're watching this on YouTube, please click the like button below because YouTube will promote this video more when you do. Thanks so much for your help. Share this video with others, and you can also click the subscribe button so that when more videos come out like this, you'll be up to date right away. Another billionaire I remember listening to said that he would go to a restaurant and just order hot water. That's it, just a free cup of hot water. Then he would take the ketchup bottle sitting on the table and make his own version of free tomato soup. One guy said to his friend, "I wish I was a billionaire just like my dad." His friend said, "Whoa, your dad was a billionaire?" He said, "No, what I mean is he wished he was one too." Now, Raphael Badziag, author of The $1 Billion Secret, says it's very clear why most of the general population, he calls drifters, don't succeed in life. They're waiting for conditions to be perfect before they strike, and often those ideal conditions never materialize, so they don't fully pursue their dreams. Self-made billionaires, he says, are different. Most of the billionaires that Badziag interviewed or that I spoke with didn't come from well-off families or ideal situations, but they pursued their dreams no matter what the circumstances around them, no matter what the weather was outside, he says. Think about it. Elon Musk was raised in modest means by a single parent. His parents divorced when he was 10 years old. And then in 1995, when he started his first business, he slept on the office couch and showered at the YMCA. And he eventually sold it to Compaq for roughly $300 million in 1999. Musk used that money from the sale to found what later became PayPal. And then, as you know, he leveraged up to take control of Tesla and found SpaceX. Take, for example, N.R. Narayana Murthy, who co-founded IT giant Infosys, which is valued at more than $45 billion. The 72-year-old, who is now worth an estimated $2.4 billion, grew up in India in the 50s and 60s, a poor country that he says was one of the most hostile to free enterprise at the time. As a child, his family was so poor, they had to sleep on the floor because they had no furniture. Number 2, they hire superstars. Like Alex Hormozi learned from a billionaire he spoke with, every business that is going to be self-sustaining needs to have 3 superstars. One in acquisition, one in delivery, and one in operations and shared services. So one gets new customers, another fulfills orders, and the third one keeps the other 2 out of hot water by making sure the bills are paid and that they follow the regulations. If you have those 3 superstars, then that business can grow on its own. Along those lines, another is setting up the right incentive programs for those superstars. Charlie Munger says, "Show me the incentives and I can show you the outcome." So this billionaire shares 10% of the profits and equity with these 3 key people. The billionaire said this, and I thought this was interesting: "I've never hired someone who I didn't think was a superstar who turned out to be one." He said he had hired people who he thought were stars, but turned out not to be, but never the other way around. Superstars can recognize problems, come up with solutions, and implement them without your input. And superstars want that kind of responsibility because he or she wants the credit. So Alex says the key from going to 30 million to 100 million in sales is giving up that next layer of control and letting your superstars run the show, or at least a big part of it. So the key takeaway here is, when you're looking for high-level people, if you don't immediately think they're a superstar, they're probably not a fit for that position. Number 3, they don't do it for the money. Most people are dying to have big incomes, but never quite achieve a high net worth status, or if they do, they lose motivation when they have some good money in the bank. Badziak refers to this as the gold digger's trap. However, I found that self-made billionaires who I've spoken with aren't motivated by wealth. Instead, they have a strong sense of purpose and passion for their work, and are motivated by a desire to grow and learn no matter how big their bank accounts get. In fact, I coined a term that I discussed with my associates, and it's called the full belly syndrome. You can see my video on this. It's when somebody's bills are paid, their needs are met, so they just rest on their laurels until the pain of lack hits, so they can get off the couch and get back to work. Billionaires, however, have passions to achieve great things and change the world as a motivator, not money alone. And a passion like that doesn't stop once you have enough to lay back and kick up your feet. As Apple founder Steve Jobs once famously said, "I was worth over $1 million when I was 23, and over 10 million when I was 24, over 100 million when I was 25, and it wasn't that important because I never did it for the money." Jobs said he started Apple with a simple vision of trying to create a computer in the hands of everyday people, and he ended up succeeding beyond his wildest dreams. And French-Syrian businessman Mohed Altrad, who made his now $2.7 billion fortune by acquiring a scaffolding company in France in 1985 and growing it into the industrial services giant Altrad Group, told Badziak that he doesn't view money as an objective. It's one of the signs of success. The success of the organization is to be sustainable, in which people are happy, in which humanity finds its foundation, Altrad said. Number 4. They are frugal. The average person loves spending money, and they often go into debt to have even more than they have. Even successful people are prone to showcasing their wealth via cars, expensive clothing, lavish vacations, and of course showing it on Facebook. But the billionaires I spoke with were different. They get pleasure making money, but they don't really enjoy spending it. Take, for example, Warren Buffett, the 4th richest person in the world with a net worth of around $101 billion as we speak. Despite his massive wealth, the 90-plus-year-old lives in the same modest Omaha house he purchased in 1958 for $31,500, which is around $296,000 in today's dollars. He also keeps his breakfast budget low, only spending around $3.17 a day at McDonald's, getting either sausage, eggs, or bacon, or a combination thereof. And Peter Hargreaves, the founder of Hargreaves Lansdowne, one of UK's largest financial services business, said a few years back that he was still driving an 8-year-old Toyota Prius. Hargreaves' net worth is an estimated $4.2 billion. Hargrave told Badziak that his children were frugal too. He says, "My kids drive very modest cars. They both have a car that's 7 years old. They both have quite modest flats. And if they go on a holiday, they go with their mates and they're in the back of the plane." In fact, you may know this already. I read online that Elon Musk sold his $1 million mansions and moved himself into a 20 by 20 foot accessory dwelling unit, or ADU, made by the Las Vegas startup group Boxable. Musk tweeted recently that he was living literally in a $50,000 house. Of course, some billionaires adjust to their level of wealth. For example, though Bill Gates is famous for wearing a $10 watch, he recently admitted that now he indulges. "Now I take lots of vacations. My 20-year-old self is so disgusted with my current self. You know, I was sure I would never fly anything but coach, but as you know, now I have a plane," Gates said. So it's not all ketchup soup and dollhouse living. Number 5. Money doesn't change a billionaire, it just makes them more of what they already are. Some of the billionaires I've met or who have consulted with me were the nicest, warmest, friendliest people I've ever met. In fact, here's that story as promised. A few years ago, my wife and I stayed at the 17,000 square foot mansion of a Kansas City billionaire in the natural gas business. I must say, he and his wife were some of the best-hearted people we've ever met in our lives. They had our bedroom all prepared with fresh flowers, a bag of little gifts for us. They had a whole coffee setup with a pastry sitting out there in the morning. They let us tour their acreage in a couple of ATVs, visit their chicken coop. We worked out in a gym downstairs in their house that could have put some professional gyms to shame. We went bowling down in the basement where they had a full-size bowling alley with automatic pin reset and ball return. They had retired and dedicated themselves to running a charity that helped orphan kids in the Caribbean, that gives them jobs in a factory that he set up down there, and he makes no money whatsoever from the factory as he rolls all of the profits back into helping more kids. I'll never forget that wonderful experience and the wonderful hearts of this salt-of-the-earth couple who just happened to be billionaires. A different billionaire gentleman who consulted with me on asset protection, he was in the oil and gas business, was going through a very nasty divorce and came to us for an asset protection consultation. He was a bit uptight from his situation, but still a very friendly guy. The billionaire in the meatpacking business was another one of the friendliest guys I've ever met. Born and bred in the Midwest, moved to Florida in retirement, very approachable and a true gentleman. And I've met some other billionaires who I would say were a little less approachable, a little gruff and rough around the edges, especially the guy who lived in the shipping container. I guess it was his background. Which sums up our final point about billionaires. As James Rohn said, the key to happiness is not more. It's not more money. Happiness is a separate issue altogether. Happiness is an art to be studied and practiced on its own. And here's the key. More money will only make you more of what you already are and send you more quickly to your destination. And that's true with the billionaires I've met. If you're inclined to be unhappy, you will be absolutely miserable if you get a lot of money. If you're inclined to be mean, you can now become a terror. If you're inclined to drink a little bit too much, you can now become a drunk because you can drink everything. More money will only make you more of what you already are. But the good news is that more money will amplify your happiness if you're inclined to be happy. So the key takeaway here is, while you're climbing the ladder to success, also make happiness a study. In summary, no excuses. Don't do it for the money. Do it to change the world. Hire superstars, be frugal, and finally study happiness. So in the process of getting to your continuously evolving destination, you can take a happy heart with you. Thanks for watching. This is The Business Guy.